what is psychosis? So psychosis, it's a collection of symptoms that make you lose touch with reality. So that can include hallucinations, so auditory hallucinations where you hear things that are not there, or auditory hallucinations where that's what I just said. Visual hallucinations where you see things that are not there. It can also include delusions. So you have thoughts that are out of touch of reality. You might think that, A'udhu you're God. Or you might think that people are out to get you and they're talking about you. Everywhere you turn, you think someone is talking about you when it's not true at all. You might think that your food that your spouse or your mom or your dad is making for you is poisonous and they actually want you to die. So those are delusions. Those are examples of delusions. SubhanAllah, usually in that moment, because chances are when you're having these delusions, you're in a psychotic episode. And during the psychotic episode or during psychosis, you've lost insight into reality. You've lost insight into your own self. And because of that, your inhibitions, your ability to hold back things that are shameful or things that are inappropriate, that inhibition really goes down. You're not able to control your speech. You just blurt out anything. You might be on social media and you'll just post unfiltered things that are meant to be private or things that are actually secret. You might let them out. So imagine that once you come out of psychosis, and that is difficult to deal with because that damage could be in your personal life, your relationships, your reputation, at your workplace. It can be in your community. And that becomes really difficult when you don't have a plan in place and psychosis really keeps on wreaking havoc in your life and you keep going through the same thing over and over again. That becomes really difficult. But when you have a plan in place and you can really prevent these episodes, you have the help you need, you have a support system, then you're not at the mercy of psychosis because you put a plan in place to help you. It's also important to remember that as Muslims, Allah does not test you beyond your ability. So if you can handle this much hardship in your life, Allah is not going to give you a hardship that is this high or that difficult. He's only going to give you what you can handle. So when you are going through psychosis, when you have a mental illness, then know that Allah gave it to you because you can handle it. You can go through it. And who knows, you might be an example for other people that hope and recovery is possible. So always remember that Allah only gave this to you because it is within your ability, it is within your scope. No matter how difficult and challenging it seems, that how do I deal with the shame? How do I deal with the guilt? How do I deal with the hallucinations, the delusions? How do I deal with coming out of this and doing damage control because of the tornado that just came into my life? Know that Allah gave this to you because you are strong enough to go through this. You are capable and Allah believes in you. You just need to believe in yourself. And I know it's difficult that you've had these hallucinations, you've had these delusions, you've lost friends, you've lost relationships, you've lost a job, you've lost, maybe you can't continue in school, you can't have kids, and you can't work in a certain environment. All those things, I know they're hard. At the same time, these are the cards that you're dealt with, and this is what Allah has put on your plate. Your job is to see this as a challenge, not a punishment. Everybody has a challenge. This is your challenge. It is tailored to you. Allah has tailored it to you because He knows you can handle it. Maybe the next person would not be able to go through a psychotic episode and come out on the other side. But you, my warrior, are able to do it. And that's why Allah gave it to you. You are strong enough and capable enough to go through this and come out on the other side. How did I build my identity after going through psychosis? And I'm talking about multiple psychotic episodes, how did I come out of it? What did I do afterwards? Number one, I cleaned up my environment. But the way I would rebuild myself is I would clean up. So clean up the clutter. And the second thing I would do is clean up my relationships. So during the psychotic episode, when I noticed, and you have some insight when you are having delusions or hallucinations, it's not like everything needs to be thrown out. You do see some people around you, you see their real self come out. So the way I rebuild myself after is to cut out the toxic people in my life. So if I found that at this point in my life, in this season, there was person X, and during the psychotic episode, during psychosis, they were not supportive. In fact, they were stigmatizing me and they were misunderstanding me. They were actually trying to bring me down. And when I come out of the episode and I realize that, I would say, I don't need that person in my life. I don't. And unless they're a person that I can't cut out from my life, like a family member, I would. If it was someone I could get rid of, I would literally excommunicate and get them out of my life as soon as I could, as fast as I could. And once I did that, I saw my recovery just skyrocket. Because that person was gone from my life, I saw myself improving at the speed of light. And I'm not kidding. This is not an overstatement. For people I couldn't cut out from my life, I limited my contact with them. And I set strict boundaries that they could not cross. And if they did cross, I would limit my contact even more, and I would just reinforce the boundaries until they got the message that Saba is not tolerating this. So I better not do it if I want to be in her life. So that's the second way I rebuild myself after a psychotic episode. The third way I would rebuild myself is to go to my baseline again. So that meant that during the psychosis, if I was not eating at all, or I was praying too much to the point that it became disturbing and it became obsessive, to rebuild myself after the psychotic episode, I would go to my baseline. So if I was praying this amount every day, I would go back to that and start doing that again. If during the episode I started not eating, or I stopped eating and I stopped sleeping, when I would come out of it, I would go back to my normal routine. That's why it's important in your everyday life to have habits in place, to have a schedule, to have a routine, so that when you do recover, you can bounce back and you can go back to that schedule, that routine, the appointments, the family events, the social gatherings. It's important to have that life for yourself, so that when you do come out of the episode, you have that baseline to fall back on. Because it might seem like boring. Oh, I do the same thing every day. I eat at a certain time every day. I sleep at a certain time every day. But as humans, we need stability, and we need this stability to ground us. So have that in your life, and that is what I did to rebuild myself after the storm of psychosis. My message to anyone who has gone through psychosis is that healing is possible, that no matter what shame you felt, and I had a client once who did something very shameful in their psychosis while they were psychotic, or while they were having a psychotic episode. I hate to call them psychotic because that's very stigmatizing, but while they were having a psychotic episode, they took off their hijab and they did so many things that were flat out haram. And when they came out of the episode and they saw what they did, they were so ashamed. They felt so bad. And it took them years to come to terms with the fact that whatever they did in their episode wasn't really them. It was just part of the illness. So I want you to walk away with this, that whatever you did during that episode does not define you. That is not who you really are. Despite what people or the toxic people in your life might say, and they might judge you based on that episode, I want you to know that that does not define you. Let it refine you. So whatever you did in your episode, do your best to set up a system in place so that it never happens again. And chances are it might happen again, and that's okay. But you know what? Maybe the next time you get sick, it's not as bad. Maybe the damage is not as severe because you've learned from your past and you're able to come out of it stronger and a better person. So hope is possible, recovery is possible. Your episode does not define you, and know that whatever you have, whatever level of illness you have, because different people will have it in a different intensity. So whatever level you're at, Allah has given that to you because you can handle it. You are capable. And from one Muslim with a mental illness to another, we're really strong people. Because to go through the storms that we go through, I think any normal person, and normal is in quotes, any normal person might actually not come out on the other side. It might tear them down so much that they lose, and I've seen this happen, some people, they lose total touch with reality and they're stuck in the psychosis for the rest of their life. They are not able to bounce back. But you, the fact that you're actually sitting and watching this video and you're able to pay attention, you're able to understand what I'm saying, and you're able to have that insight and inculcate this knowledge on your own and apply it to your life, that takes intelligence, that takes strength and insight. And not everybody has that. Not everybody is going to turn on a YouTube video and watch it and learn how to become better. But you, my warrior, did that. That takes a lot of courage and intuition, and to know that, hey, I'm going through this, I need help, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to become a better person. So I want you to know that you are special, not in the bad kind of way, but you're special in the sense that you have chosen the path less traveled. And when you choose that path, it can get lonely sometimes, but having a community can make all the difference. I'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.